The storm was wild. The wind howled like a wolf, and the rain fell hard. Sarah was driving her car, but she was lost. The road was dark, and the trees looked like shadows. She was scared. Suddenly, she saw a light in the distance. It was a lighthouse. Sarah felt relief. She drove to the lighthouse and stopped her car. She ran to the door and knocked loudly. A man opened the door. He was tall and looked serious. His eyes were dark, and his voice was deep. "What are you doing here?" he asked. Sarah was nervous. "I'm sorry. I'm lost. Can I stay here until the storm stops?" The man looked at her for a moment. "You shouldn't be here," he said. "It's not safe." Sarah felt confused. "Why isn't it safe? It's just a lighthouse." The man's face was hard. "This place, it's different. Strange things happen here." Sarah didn't understand. What kind of strange things? The man didn't answer. He looked at the storm behind her. "Fine," he said. "You can stay, but don't go upstairs. Don't touch anything, and don't ask questions." Sarah nodded, but she was curious. "What's your name?" she asked. "Daniel," he said. "And you?" "I'm Sarah," she replied. "Thank you for letting me in." Daniel didn't smile. "Don't thank me yet." Sarah walked inside. The lighthouse was cold and quiet. The walls were old, and the air smelled like salt and wood. She saw a picture on the wall. It was a woman with long hair and a kind smile. "Who is that?" Sarah asked. Daniel's face changed. He looked sad. "That's Emily, my wife." Sarah felt sorry for him. "She's beautiful. Where is she now?" Daniel didn't answer for a long time. Then he said, "She's gone." Sarah didn't know what to say. "I'm sorry." Daniel turned away. "You should rest. The storm will stop soon." Sarah wanted to ask more questions, but Daniel's tone told her to stop. She sat on a chair near the fireplace. The fire was warm, but the room still felt cold. After a while, Sarah heard a noise. It sounded like footsteps upstairs. She looked at Daniel. "Did you hear that?" Daniel's face was tense. "I told you not to ask questions." Sarah felt scared. "Is someone else here?" Daniel didn't answer. He just stared at the fire. "Go to sleep, Sarah. Tomorrow you'll leave." But Sarah couldn't sleep. The footsteps continued, and the wind outside sounded like whispers. She looked out the window and saw a shadow near the cliffs. It looked like a person. "Daniel," she called. "There's someone outside." Daniel didn't move. "It's just the storm," he said. "Go to sleep." Sarah didn't believe him. She felt like the lighthouse was hiding something. And Daniel, he was hiding something too. The next morning, the storm was gone. The sun shone through the dusty windows of the lighthouse, but the air still felt heavy. Sarah woke up on the old couch, wrapped in a blanket. She looked around. Daniel was nowhere to be seen. She stood up and walked to the kitchen. There, she found Daniel making coffee. He didn't look at her. "Good morning," Sarah said, trying to sound cheerful. Daniel nodded, but didn't smile. "Morning." Sarah hesitated. "Thank you for letting me stay last night. I don't know what I would have done if I hadn't found this place." Daniel poured coffee into a cup. "You should leave today. The roads will be clear now." Sarah felt a little hurt by his cold tone. "I will, but can I ask you something first?" Daniel sighed. "What?" "Last night, I heard footsteps upstairs, and I saw a shadow outside. What's going on here?" Daniel's face darkened. "I told you not to ask questions." Sarah didn't back down. "I know, but I'm just curious. This place feels strange, and you seem so sad. Is it because of Emily?" Daniel's hands tightened around the coffee cup. "You don't know anything about Emily." "Then tell me," Sarah said softly. Maybe I can help. Daniel looked at her for the first time. His eyes were full of pain. No one can help. Emily is gone. What happened to her? Sarah asked. Daniel didn't answer right away. He walked to the window and stared at the sea. 5 years ago, Emily disappeared. One day she was here. The next day, she was gone. The police searched for weeks, but they found nothing. Everyone thinks she drowned in the sea. Sarah felt a chill. But you don't believe that, do you? Daniel shook his head. No, Emily loved the sea. She would never have gone too close to the edge. And before she disappeared, she acted strange. Strange how? Sarah asked. Daniel hesitated. She started talking about secrets. She said the lighthouse had a hidden room. She said she found something important, but she wouldn't tell me what it was. Sarah's eyes widened. A hidden room? Did you ever find it? Daniel shook his head. I looked everywhere, but I never found anything. And then she was gone. Sarah felt a mix of sadness and curiosity. Maybe the room is still here. Maybe we can find it together. Daniel turned to her, his face serious. Why do you care? You don't even know me. Sarah shrugged. I don't know. Maybe because I feel like Emily wants someone to find the truth. And I want to help you. Daniel stared at her for a long moment. Then he sighed. Fine, but if we find anything, you leave right after. This is my problem, not yours. Sarah nodded. Deal. Sarah and Daniel started searching the lighthouse. They looked in every room, every corner. Sarah noticed how Daniel's hands trembled when they entered Emily's old study. The room was filled with books, maps, and old photographs. Emily loved to read. Daniel said, picking up a book. She always said books held secrets. Sarah picked up a photo from the desk. It was Emily standing near the cliffs, smiling at the camera. She was beautiful, Sarah said. Daniel's voice was soft. She was more than beautiful. She was kind, smart, and full of life. I don't know what happened to her. Sarah put the photo down. We'll find out. I promise. As they searched, Sarah found an old diary under a pile of books. Daniel, look at this. Daniel took the diary and opened it. Inside were Emily's handwritten notes. One page caught his eye. It said, "The lighthouse holds the key. Follow the light." Daniel's hands shook. This is her writing. She left this for me. Sarah felt a spark of hope. What does it mean? Follow the light? Daniel thought, for a moment, maybe it's about the lighthouse lamp. Let's check the top. They climbed the stairs to the top of the lighthouse. The lamp was huge and bright. Sarah looked around and noticed something strange. One of the floorboards was loose. Daniel, look here, she called. Daniel knelt down and pulled up the floorboard. Underneath was a small box. He opened it and found a map. Sarah's eyes widened. What is this? Daniel studied the map. It's a map of the cliffs. There's a mark here, near the cove. Sarah felt excited. This could be the clue we need. Let's go there. Daniel hesitated. It's dangerous. The cliffs are unstable. Sarah looked at him. We have to try. For Emily. Daniel nodded slowly. Okay, but be careful. That night, the storm returned. The wind howled like a ghost, and the rain tapped on the windows like fingers. Sarah sat by the fireplace, but she couldn't relax. The lighthouse felt alive, as if it were watching her. Daniel was quiet. He stared at the fire, lost in thought. Sarah tried to break the silence. Do you think Emily is still out there? She asked. Daniel didn't look at her. I don't know, but I feel like she's close. Sarah shivered. What do you mean? Daniel's voice was low. Sometimes I hear her voice. Sometimes I see her shadow in the corner of my eye. But when I turn, she's not there. Sarah felt a chill. That's creepy. Daniel nodded. This lighthouse has secrets, and not all of them are good. Suddenly, they heard a loud thud from upstairs. Sarah jumped. What was that? Daniel stood up, his face tense. I told you not to go upstairs. I didn't, Sarah said. It came from up there. Daniel grabbed a flashlight. Stay here. I'll check. Sarah shook her head. No way. I'm not staying alone. Daniel sighed. Fine, but stay close. They climbed the stairs slowly. The flashlight flickered, casting shadows on the walls. Sarah's heart pounded. Every creak of the stairs made her jump. Do you hear that? She whispered. Daniel stopped. Hear what? It sounds like whispering, Sarah said. Daniel listened. The wind outside sounded like voices, but Sarah was sure she heard words. Follow the light. Did you hear that? Sarah asked, her voice trembling. Daniel's face was pale. Yes, but it's just the wind. Sarah wasn't convinced. It sounded like a woman's voice. Daniel didn't answer. He kept walking. When they reached the top floor, the noise stopped. The room was dark and cold. Sarah hugged herself. This place gives me the creeps. Daniel shone the flashlight around. There's nothing here. But then they heard it again. A soft tap, tap, tap coming from the wall. Sarah's eyes widened. What is that? Daniel walked to the wall and pressed his ear against it. It's coming from inside. Sarah felt a mix of fear and curiosity. Is there a hidden room? Daniel didn't answer. He started feeling the wall, looking for something. Suddenly, he pushed a loose panel, and part of the wall opened. Sarah gasped. What is this? Daniel shone the flashlight inside. It was a small, hidden room. The air was dusty, and the walls were covered in old drawings and words. Sarah stepped inside, her heart racing. What is this place? Daniel's voice was shaky. Emily used to come up here a lot. She said she needed a quiet place to think. But I never knew about this. Sarah looked at the drawings. They were of the lighthouse, the sea, and a woman standing on the cliffs. There were words written on the wall. The light will guide you. Find me. Sarah felt a chill. Daniel, this is Emily's writing, isn't it? Daniel nodded, his face pale. Yes, she left this for me. Suddenly, the flashlight flickered and went out. The room was pitch black. Sarah panicked. Daniel, I can't see. Stay calm, Daniel said, but his voice was shaky. I'll fix it. But before he could, they heard a loud bang behind them. The door to the hidden room slammed shut. Sarah screamed. What's happening? Daniel tried to open the door, but it wouldn't budge. It stuck. Sarah's breathing quickened. We're trapped. The room felt colder, and the air grew heavy. Sarah felt like someone was watching her. Daniel, I'm scared. Daniel's voice was calm, but tense. It's okay. We'll get out. But then they heard it, a soft, whispering voice. Daniel, I'm here. Sarah froze. Did you hear that? Daniel's voice was barely a whisper. Yes. The voice came again, louder this time. Find me. Follow the light. Sarah's heart pounded. Is that Emily? Daniel didn't answer. He was staring into the darkness, his face pale. Emily, if that's you, please let us out. Suddenly, the flashlight flickered back on. The door creaked open. Sarah and Daniel didn't wait. They ran out of the hidden room and down the stairs. When they reached the living room, Sarah collapsed on the couch, breathing heavily. What was that? Daniel sat down, his hands trembling. I don't know, but it felt real. Sarah looked at him. Do you think Emily is trying to tell us something? Daniel nodded slowly. Yes, and I think we need to find her. Sarah felt a mix of fear and determination. Then let's do it. But can we wait until morning? I don't think I can handle any more scares tonight. Daniel managed a small smile. Agreed. The next morning, the storm was gone, and the sun shone brightly. Sarah and Daniel prepared to follow the map they found in the hidden room. The map led to a cove near the cliffs, a place Daniel hadn't visited in years. Are you sure about this? Sarah asked as they walked along the rocky path. Daniel nodded. Emily left that map for a reason. We have to see what's there. Sarah felt nervous. The cliffs were steep, and the waves below were loud and powerful. She held onto Daniel's arm for balance. What if we don't find anything? Daniel's voice was firm. We will. Emily wouldn't lead us to a dead end. After an hour of walking, they reached the cove. It was a small, hidden beach surrounded by tall rocks. The sand was soft, and the water was clear. But what caught their attention was a small wooden cabin tucked between the rocks. Sarah's eyes widened. Is that? Daniel's face was pale. It's the cabin from Emily's drawings. They walked to the cabin slowly. The door was old and creaked as Daniel pushed it open. Inside, the air was dusty, but the cabin was clean and tidy. There was a small bed, a table, and a shelf filled with books and candles. On the table was a letter. Daniel picked it up with trembling hands. It was addressed to him. If you're reading this, it means you found my clues. I'm sorry I had to leave. I was in danger, and I didn't want to put you in harm's way. I've been hiding here, waiting for the right time to come back. Please forgive me. Love, Emily. Daniel's eyes filled with tears. She's alive. She's been here all this time. Sarah felt a mix of joy and sadness. But where is she now? Just then, they heard a noise outside. Sarah and Daniel turned to see a woman standing at the door. She had long hair and a kind smile. It was Emily. Daniel froze. Emily, is it really you? Emily nodded, tears streaming down her face. Yes, Daniel. It's me. Emily explained everything. 5 years ago, she had discovered a dangerous secret about someone in the town. This person had threatened her life, so she faked her disappearance to protect herself. And Daniel, I wanted to tell you, Emily said, her voice shaking. But I was afraid. I left clues in the lighthouse, hoping you would find them one day. Daniel hugged her tightly. I thought I lost you forever. I never stopped looking for you. Sarah watched them, feeling happy for Daniel, but also a little sad. She had grown close to him, but she knew his heart belonged to Emily. Emily noticed Sarah and smiled. Who is this? Daniel introduced her. This is Sarah. She helped me find you. Emily took Sarah's hand. Thank you. You brought him back to me. Sarah smiled. I'm just glad you're safe. They returned to the lighthouse together. Emily was weak, but happy to be home. Daniel couldn't stop smiling. For the first time in years, the lighthouse felt warm and full of life. Sarah helped them clean up and settle in. She knew it was time for her to leave. I should go, she said. You two have a lot to catch up on. Daniel looked at her, his eyes filled with gratitude. Thank you, Sarah. I couldn't have done this without you. Emily hugged her. You'll always have a place here. Come visit us anytime. Sarah nodded, holding back tears. I will. As Sarah drove away, she looked back at the lighthouse. It no longer felt cold and eerie. It was a place of love and hope. She smiled to herself. She had come to the lighthouse seeking shelter from the storm, but she had found so much more. A story of love, loss, and second chances. And though she left the lighthouse behind, she knew it would always hold a special place in her heart.